besides like even the cost of like the medication alone, like my insurance is like sometimes like insurance covers like a good portion, but like in other areas it's hard to kind of like your insurance doesn't cover certain things and like you pay extra
deductibles and stuff like that.
And like the cost in general for the economy for everything is gone up, especially in our favorite hobby, gaming. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for coming back on the latest episode of the LeisureHub Podcast. I'm Justin. Alongside me,
Pedro. Madera.
Today we have the best, most grand, spectacular podcast topic for you, ladies and gentlemen, today.
Best one ever.
And that's called prices for games. Do they make sense?
Hell no.
You don't think $70 is an appropriate cost for a video game?
I would say yes and no. Like let's take a look at prices over time.
Okay.
We did some research on this, and
so the site we're specifically referring to is called techraptor.net. So we're gonna throw that up on the screen and we're gonna walk through, I guess, some of the prices. We're not gonna go through all of them because there's a lot of consoles of the past.
Pretty lengthy.
And it could be pretty lengthy. So this is gonna be another short episode because I feel like those end up being better, I guess. I don't know. But go ahead. Go ahead.
And
go ahead.
Just to go ahead. Just to put it, in a long story short, prices go up every 2 generations, correct?
That's what we noticed. We noticed from from the 70s, it was about every 2 generations, games were getting a price hike. So games went up from like $40 to like, it was $39.99, which is $40 USD. And then it went from that to like $45 after 2 generations.
Right. And then we get to the 360 era when they went up to $60.
No, not quite.
Not quite.
So no, you had the Super Nintendo.
Yes, there were $60 back then.
$50.
50. Okay.
Yeah. Super Nintendo, PS2, and GameCube were all $50, and the Dreamcast was $50.
Okay.
For games.
And then, all right, let's just go, fast forward time to today, which is $70.
Right. And then even PS3 or PS2 was $50. PS3's 360 was $60. And then now PS4 was also $60. Now in the current generation, we hit $70.
Yes. So I would say it's in 20 years?
20 years?
No. It's like total of 30 to 40 years?
Sure. Yeah. From 77 to 2023.
Yeah. The price has basically doubled.
Yeah.
It's not too bad, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got comfortable, with spending $60, but that was as a young adult, I didn't,
because I feel like that's all we know.
Yes, exactly. And not having much bills, not having kids or a girlfriend. It's easy to spend $60 on a game. And then over time, you don't see it as a lot of money, but it is a lot of money.
Bro, games add up.
Yeah. And like $60 and $60. And, that new game, you always want to get that new game. It looks so good. And then when it comes out, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
That's not the case nowadays. That's kind of like changing because the game comes out, it's broken, it's not finished, but that's another topic. Okay. No. It is this topic. You're paying $70.
Yeah.
For a game that is basically unfinished. But either way, it's still expensive.
Yeah. I mean, like you think about the cost of making a game, right? And we're not game developers, we're not producers,
yes,
we're not anything. So we all we have is to kind of go off information that we've been able to hear about, read about, learn about. And like I feel like the cost of a disc is fairly inexpensive, but then you have the box art, you have the plastic you're shipping in, like the amount of units that you're shipping in. Like obviously you get deals when you're shipping stuff like with a company, but you still have to pay that and you have to make a profit off of selling units.
I don't mind that.
Well, but that is factored into the cost of like a $70 game.
And that's totally understandable, right?
Yeah.
What about digital?
I made a post about this on Threads like months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I had said like digital games, this is my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it should be, but it's just my opinion. Digital games should cost less than physical. Digital games should cost like bare minimum $50.
Yeah, I agree.
Bare minimum. Like they don't have to go lower than that. And some games do charge like $50 or even $40. Like Alan Wake 2 was pretty cheap because it was only digital. To kind of like question that, right?
Yeah.
What about if a game has both versions?
I still think it should be cheaper if you're buying digital.
Yes.
Because you're not getting, I feel like you're more at risk. You're not getting an actual physical item.
Mm-hmm.
And you are completely at their mercy. Like if they want to have it up in their store, what if they take it out of the store?
Right.
Well, what if they don't support that game anymore? Like that, you're done.
Right.
You lost all your money.
Yeah. You know, another thing that I've also like been thinking about in terms of like physical, like we have a podcast topic for physical media and how it's going away.
Mm-hmm.
But I just want to touch on this really quickly about how with physical stuff, like your phone, right?
Yeah.
Your laptop, if you wanted to sell it to somebody, you could sell it to somebody, right?
Yeah.
If you wanted to trade in your phone, you can trade in your phone and you can get a praised value for it. How do you get rid of a digital game? Like what happened? Like what happens to it? You just keep it.
You should wait. You're saying we should keep it?
No, I'm saying like with a physical game, you can at least sell it or like give it to a friend if you no longer want it. You can't do that with a digital game, so you're stuck with it.
So you're saying we should create like a trading?
Like, I'm not making any suggestions.
Okay,
I'm just saying like making an observation.
You can't do any of that.
Exactly.
Which limits you.
Yeah.
Which the more reason to lower the freaking price.
Right. I think there are so many games out there that are broken, that are coming out broken, coming out half finished, coming out whatever variation of that, right?
Yes.
And they're still charging full price for it. The day before was a huge flop, right? Bro, and that's the thing, right? It's like if you're going to charge they literally took the game and bounced. Like they got the money and bounced. I don't know if they're doing refunds or not.
No updates, no nothing.
No, the game's done. That was probably like that and the Walking Dead game that came out, the biggest disasters ever. And they charging a lot of money for them. And I think
how can they get away with that?
People, I don't know, dude. Like I think people were hopeful that the game's actually going to be good, especially with the day before.
Right.
That game looked like it had potential. But like we talked about before, when there's a studio that you have no idea who they are, they technically have no credibility. So you're taking a huge gamble on whether that game's going to be good or not.
Yep.
And like I've mentioned this game multiple times, Lies of P, Korean studio, they delivered. Yep. But like that doesn't always happen.
It used to always happen though.
Do you think so?
I feel like way more often than now. Like now it's just like 50-50. Like, you know, think about how big pre-order work, like pre-ordering was.
Bro, now that you say that, like
nobody pre-orders anymore.
Yeah. No. Call of Duty was the thing to pre-order though.
Yeah. Always. I mean, midnight release.
Bro, you remember the one we went to for Black Ops 3?
Yeah. Black Ops 3.
And like you're like, watch this. And you're like, yeah.
I remember.
And everybody started cheering.
I was so excited. That was the last COD release I went. And
yeah.
Bro,
they're not fun anymore.
Barely. There's none.
Yeah.
There's none. There used to be so fun. There's tournaments, like sometimes like GameStop would bring out pizza, and stuff like that. Yeah. Bro, it was cool as shit. Like the Modern Warfare 3. Like,
you can't get that anymore with like a digital. Like, what are you supposed to do? Have friends over and saying the game's dropping in 20 minutes,
and then it's trash. I'm not saying it's trash, but I'm saying it's broken as hell.
Yeah.
So like, anyways, but the thing is, like, people have faith in pre-ordering.
Yeah.
Because they were 85 to 90% sure that the game was going to be good.
Right.
And I don't remember ever questioning whether a game was going to be bad or good. I just knew the game was going to be good.
Right. Well, are we talking about in a preference of like, or a perspective of like PS2 era 3, or
I think
are we talking
I want to say 360 era,
because that's
PS4 era is started getting iffy.
Yeah,
but I feel like PS5 is like, bro, I don't know.
Like
I'd rather wait.
It's like every other game is half baked or half assed.
Yep, I don't even trust reviews nowadays.
No, you can't.
Yeah,
we can't. Spoiler alert. No, I won't drop that. You guys are sorry, guys. You're not gonna get this spoil.
Man,
I was gonna give you a spoil of the latest episode, but I think a lot. Our economy has a lot to do with it. You just told me. I mean, it's all over the news, but like Microsoft's big layoff. They laid off 2,000 employees.
Yeah. I don't know if it's layoff, they fired them, so something like that.
Layoff is basically the same thing. It's just it's a kind of word of saying that they're fired.
It reminds me of Step Brothers. It's like, yeah, he got laid. He got fired. No, he got fired off of Pat Smart or something like that.
Yeah.
And then he was like, I didn't get fired. I got laid off.
It's the same thing. But like Microsoft has been like, they left like 2,000 people. The tech industry alone has been letting go people, like a lot of people. If you are in the game industry or tech industry, you probably have lost your job like 5 times by now.
I know. Dude.
Like that's wild. And so like the economy alone is like partially to blame on how like how much people are charging for these games.
Yes. I would say partially.
I wouldn't say completely. Because
like if we get into microtransactions, these guys are getting a lot of money off of that shit alone.
Did you hear that how much money CS:GO made from microtransactions?
No.
They made over $1 billion or $1 million in microtransactions. But that was specifically from skins, cosmetics.
Jesus.
Think about that. Like there is an actual business model for making money with microtransactions and skins. But like the thing is, I think a game
Yep.
can do that and be good. If your game is good
True.
and you have that, that's fine. But when you put it in a game and you still have microtransactions,
you prioritize the microtransactions.
Exactly. That game is ass. Ain't no way I'm paying for those microtransactions with this shitty game you just dropped.
Yep.
Not doing it.
Sometimes you feel happy about, spending extra money on a game that you love.
Yeah.
But if you don't love the game, you think it's ass.
Yeah.
Like
Evolve.
Bro. Did that even have microtransactions?
It didn't have microtransactions, but that game was ass.
Yeah, dude. It had potential, but
it had potential.
They didn't execute it right.
There was a game that came out in the PS4 era.
Early PS4.
Can you look this up really quick? Like when it came out. But the game was called...
Had to be 2014, 2013. Hold on.
Yeah, it was around there. But the game was called Evolve. Basically, you're a monster. It's basically like Dead by Daylight, where there's a monster and there's 4 players, and the 4 players have to kill the monster.
2014.
Came out in 2014?
Yep.
You were right. And that game, big flop. Like it was just lackluster. Like the monster was OP. Like you couldn't like if the monster got past like level 2 or got to like halfway toward level 2,
no chance.
No shot. You might as well just back out of the lobby.
And they would like get to that level quick as hell.
Yes.
Before you even find him.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like you could never find them. Like the maps were so huge, you could never find the monster.
Yeah.
And like by the time you found the monster, it was already too late.
It was a good concept.
Great concept.
But it's poor execution.
Yeah. But that's basically we have some games like that now.
Yes.
Like I said, Dead by Daylight is a specific game that does that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think necessarily the economy is the only thing that is contributing to that. But I think, okay, look at the demand for games. It's higher than ever.
You think?
Yes.
Okay.
For video games?
Yeah.
Bro, video games are a hot commodity now. They're mainstream.
True, but I feel like they're dying down after COVID. No? Okay.
No, I think it's higher. I mean, maybe. Now that I'm thinking about it, maybe. But I do think it's higher than when we were kids. playing games.
Definitely.
Much higher. You have a lot of people playing games that never used to play games.
Dude, it's like a household essential at this point.
Yeah. I mean, and not just that, but it's like you're like you can use it for streaming media. Yeah. You can use it for Netflix and Hulu and YouTube and everything else. So like it's another means for you to stream content. Yeah. But like the demand for games have gone up and the popularity for games have gone up.
Yes.
If the demand goes up, the price goes up.
Yep.
Especially if it's popular. And like we talked about in another podcast, I always reference like all the other old.
They're all connected.
They are. That's
yeah.
we only it's a multiverse.
It's a multiverse.
The LeisureHub Podcast multiverse.
I like it.
Get behind the lore today.
I like it.
But like more importantly, the scale of the game. Think about how many games are coming out as open world.
Dude, too many.
There's a lot of open world games.
Too many.
And I think like when you have games of that caliber.
What caliber? Give me an example.
Okay. The Witcher, Horizon Forbidden West.
Okay.
Power Worlds. I had to bring up Power Worlds because that's the most recent one. Great game, by the way. Even though I haven't played it. I watched a guy play it for like 20 some hours. What's that?
I want to play it. It looks good.
You either need an Xbox or PC. Yeah. Or you could Game Pass and play it on your phone, but I don't think that'll be I don't think you can play it on your phone.
You have to have an Xbox.
With probably. Game Pass. Yeah, I think you need an Xbox. But think about it, like the sheer scope of games has gotten huge. Like the graphics, the details, the functionalities, the story, the character writing, the acting, like all of it has become way bigger. Like with a game on PS2, you had voice acting at most.
Yeah.
That was it. You had no like CGI. No,
you got a lot now.
Yeah, you have so much. And like games are big now. Like not just from like popularity, but like they're big from a standpoint of like of how much content is in it. Mm-hmm. There's so much. And it's like people, it takes 5 years to make a game because you're planning out the writing and the storytelling and everything else.
Yeah.
So like you have to factor in that cost, that time that it's taking you. You're spending 5 years of your time, of your life, maybe even longer, maybe even 10 years, depending if a game is stuck in development hell.
Right.
10 years of your life to get $70 for a game. I mean, I don't know that we haven't done the math to equation part.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
But like you and I both know that game developers are severely underpaid
and overworked. Like
it's almost like a sweatshop for making video games. And I hate to be so like vulgar with the term.
Yeah.
But like that's what it is.
It's just what it seems like. And it looks like, I mean, just reading up on current events, like they're getting pissed off. Like they're getting tired of it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, they're getting tired of it. I mean, they're having strikes. People are going on strikes. People are like complaining about it. I mean, even us as gamers, like I think the thing that makes it challenging is as gamers, we want to like, no, like, they need to be paid more, but if they're paid more, then the cost of games goes up more.
Yep.
So it's like it's a lose-lose situation or lose-win situation to a degree. They get paid more, but on our end, we end up paying more. Mm-hmm. If we don't pay more, then they continue to have their crappy environments that they have.
Would you pay more?
We talked about GTA 6 being like $100.
Yeah.
Could you? Okay. I'll answer. I will always be a gamer. Yeah. So yes, I will pay the cost, fit the bill for the game. But eventually that will change how frequently I'm buying games. Like if a game is $100,
yes,
I won't be buying games as often as if that is. I mean, the $30 away from $100.
Yes.
Think about that. So that's 2-4 more generations if you go on the statistics.
And most people would probably start being a lot more picky on like what games they're willing to buy day one.
Yes.
Day one.
Yeah.
You know, like now, you know, the economy is kind of hitting me hard. I mean, I have, 2 kids. I'm hurt right now and
emotionally hurt.
Yeah. So
from the cost of games.
I'm still a gamer.
Yeah.
So like, but now I'm really picky if like to the point where I barely spent any money on day one releases.
Yeah. One thing that you told me that you were doing is like you're waiting until a game goes on sale.
I always do.
Yeah.
And like lately I always do, because if you think about, okay, you buy a $70 game and games come out every month, every 2 months.
At this point it feels like there's a game every day.
Yeah. So by the time the next big game is coming out, I'm still playing the old one.
Yeah.
And, back then I used to be like, no, I got to finish this as fast as possible because next week this is dropping out.
Yeah.
I remember when Tomb Raider dropped, Shadow of the Tomb Raider dropped, yeah. I was rushing to that game to make sure I have time to buy day one release of Spider-Man. They released really close together.
The one on PS4?
Yes, the PS4.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked that. Like,
Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yeah.
So Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I enjoyed it. I almost platinumed it.
Almost. Did you go back and platinum it?
No, I didn't, because I was like, okay, Spider-Man Day is here. I got to play Spider-Man now.
Yeah.
Now that I think about it, like if you would have caught me now, like I was just taking my time with Tomb Raider, thoroughly enjoyed it. And then, Spider-Man's going to be there. It's $10 now. You
can get it on PlayStation Plus for free.
A full $60 game is $10 right now on the store.
Yeah. All you have to do is wait. You have to have patience.
Yes.
And there's one other thing that you need. It's the hardest thing besides waiting. You need
impulse control?
What's that?
Impulse control?
No. You need to avoid spoilers.
Oh, man. That's big.
That is the hardest thing to do in the age of 2024. Pedro was signaling. He's like, "Is this the end of the podcast?" I was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "No." So we just got these. We had these plans, right? And I told Pedro this already.
Oh, that's what you were doing.
Yeah. I was waving away gnats. There.
I thought he was cutting it off right there. I'm like, what the heck is this guy doing?
No, like we got these plants, and I think these plants were infested with gnats, and like, bro, like we have these 2 bowls out that are collecting them, like piles of gnats, and it's crazy. They're like, I'm working at my desk when I'm working from home, and there's just like piles of them are like just buzzing around my face. And I was like, this is like, I can't live like this. I'm like, I'm gonna get rid of these plants. These plants need to go. But like the thing is, if you water them, it'll rehydrate the eggs that are in the soil.
Oh.
And so like we haven't watered the plants at all. So I'm like afraid that if we water them,
it'll sprout.
Sprout
gnats. Sprout gnats up.
Yeah. But I wanted to ask you a question.
What's up, bro?
Since we were talking about like, like the other factor, it's not just the economy, it's like the scale of a game. Do you think that the cost of a game should vary based off of the length or the amount of time or resources that are involved in the game to make it? Do you know what I mean? Or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do know what you mean. Like if it's a big ass game,
yeah,
then let's say $100.
$100.
Like, okay, we're talking about story.
You heard it here first. Pedro is advocating for $100 games. If it happens, blame him. Cancel him.
All I'm saying is like, this is an example.
Yeah.
Okay, you got story, long gameplay, and replayability rate.
Right.
Okay. If all of those are up, I'm okay with spending $100 on it.
Yes. Does the game have to be like perfect? I mean, when I mean perfect, I mean it's not broken. There's no bugs. Like there's no glitches.
It has to.
Do you think the game has to be fun?
It has to, in order for your audience to buy day one releases.
Right.
And you need your audience to buy day one releases in order to make that money. You don't want them waiting till they're $10,
right,
and then buying it, because you're not going to make any money.
Well, that's what happened with Days Gone. Did you?
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yep.
So Days Gone came out. It didn't really do well sales wise.
I love the game, by the way.
And people were like, "Bro, like Days Gone 2. We want Days Gone 2.
I want Days Gone 2.
And the developer we're like, if you guys would have paid full price for it, then we could have made a second one.
Yes.
But nobody bought it, and everybody bought it when it was cheap.
Yes.
So now I doubt we're gonna be able to make this game.
Yep.
Days Gone 2. Maybe that was just them kind of like, I mean, I understand. Like that is a heavy contribution to that. But maybe that's also just like a marketing ploy. It's like maybe it's like, let's see how many people are actually clamoring for Days Gone 2. And if they make it, they make it.
I thought it was good. I to be honest, I feel like it was really close to The Last of Us. But that was just my perspective.
Last of Us with a motorcycle.
Yes. And that was my perspective of just off the trailer, just of like not even looking thoroughly to it, just like, you know, trailers or something. That's right. What my mind went to. That's what I want to say here. But then I was like, hey, it's $20. I'm just gonna give it a go. So it's a PlayStation exclusive. You know, PlayStation has good rapport with games.
You have nothing to lose from it.
Exactly. So I'm like, okay, $20. Boom. I enjoyed the hell out of that game.
Yeah,
it was fun. Like the story was good, but I feel like that the gameplay was dope as hell. Like going through the hordes and, you know, just mowing through zombies. It was cool as hell.
You and I've had this conversation before multiple times. Do you think the gameplay matters more or the story in a game?
Oh, dude. Story matters up to a point.
But if you had to choose, which like if you had to choose, a game was coming out. The game either has really good gameplay and it's fun as hell and like an okay story, or has a fantastic story and okay gameplay.
It has to have a fantastic gameplay.
So gameplay matters more to you than a story.
Definitely. Because look, Naughty Dog game, like for example, Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4, it's fun gameplay. Mm-hmm. It's very heavily geared towards the story.
Yes.
I love that because I feel like it's an interactive movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
No, I agree. I thought you were like, oh,
No. But I like that game, not because it's a fun game.
Yeah.
Just because the story is so, it makes the game fun to play. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm-hmm. But it's a movie.
Right.
Okay? It's a movie. That game is cool if there's a weekend and I want to roll through it during the weekend. Fine. Like I don't want to invest a lot of time in this game. I don't want to go through, you know, grind hours just to, you know, I just want to have a fun, relaxed time with a game. I'll pick those games like very like heavily geared towards the story.
Right.
Now, I don't consider that a game. I'm sorry. Yeah. I just don't consider it a game.
Yeah.
To me, a game, it has a story and it has to be good. Of course it has to be good.
Yeah.
Because like, remember when we were playing Outriders?
Yeah.
Dude, that story sucked.
Dude,
I'm sorry.
No, the story was garbage.
The gameplay was so fun.
Yeah.
You know? But I feel like the story made it almost hard for the gameplay to be at its full potential.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because it was kind of like the gameplay was there, but like the thing that you're spending like 5 minutes at a time in a cutscene and trying to get these cutscenes to happen. Like you're doing these missions and then the cutscenes happen and it's like the cutscenes are very lackluster and the story is lackluster. So it's like you're enjoying the gameplay, but then what takes you out of that immersion is the cutscene.
Yeah.
Like you're immersed and then now you're not.
Exactly. You know? So I'm going to say a good example of like fun gameplay and a good story. Destiny 2.
In your opinion?
In my opinion. You know what I mean? I feel like Destiny.
I wouldn't say that.
See, like Destiny 2, the story kept me engaged. I'm not saying it's a crazy ass story. I'm just saying it kept me engaged enough for like, okay, cool. I enjoy the gameplay. Plus, I'm playing for a story here.
Right.
And the outside gameplay is cool as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, it's repetitive, you know, after you've done everything.
Yeah.
But it's just fun.
Right.
And the story is not Hollywood. I mean, I mean,
I
guess it's perspective.
Right. It's not like a AAA.
Yeah, it's your own perspective.
Right.
But I found it really enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, another example would be
Hollow Knight.
Hollow Knight?
Hollow Knight.
I mean,
have you heard of that game?
I just played it, but I don't know nothing about the story. I played it a snip of it.
But that, like, indie games, they have story, but they're not heavily focused on the story. Like, there's lore and there's story. Or have you played Inside?
No.
No? But anyway, so those games are like, they're considered indie games, and since those games don't entirely focus on story, like they have it, but they mainly focus on gameplay. And the gameplay, I don't know if you've noticed this, but every indie game, because it mainly focuses on gameplay, has nailed it. Like it's such a good game. Like what's the last indie game that was like, nah, it's all right, it's not good. Like, or it's like broken and it's trash. An indie game.
You're right. I have to agree with you.
That's another topic that
it's like there's more passion in that.
Yeah, I want to know. I want to talk about that. Like, why is it that indie games are like way more successful in terms of like the development and them coming out like basically perfect, in air quotes, versus like a AAA game. A AAA game that gets like millions of dollars, thousands of dollars.
Probably they're not pushed as much.
I don't know.
They're not being pushed around by, you know, they're independent developers.
I don't think we gave a solid answer. Like on like, should there be a cost difference on like scale and length and resources? Okay, so I think depending on the game, yes. Long story short, yes.
Depending on the game, but it should be standard
across the board. Yes,
it should be standard across the door. I think there should be categories like big game. You know what I mean? More straightforward game, like an 8-hour game. Like you don't want to pay $100 for an 8-hour game. No. Or I think that maybe they should be like, how about this? Like 3 tiers, like 50, 70, 100.
Yeah, I think if your game also is less than a certain amount of like time, like if you're, let's say you buy a game and the game is only 20 to 15 hours. I don't think a 20-hour game is $70.
No, I'll say
the
50.
Game, I think a $70 game and a standard $60 game for PS4 and Xbox is a game. Like that game has to be at least 30 to 40 hours.
I was just about to say that.
At least.
Yes.
That's what justifies, at least for time. Yeah. That's what justifies like a $60 or $70 game. If your game is less than that, the cost should fluctuate based on that. But obviously there's other factors that you have to throw into it as well.
Do you think this will ever be like regulated? Like, let's say, for example, like let's say the gaming industry is coming to a point where it needs to be handled, and it has to be regulated by something.
Well, I mean,
that would put a lot of limitations.
There's already, like, do you mean the pricing specifically, or do you mean just like gaming as a whole?
The pricing specifically, because like, you know, gaming already has had a bad reputation with microtransactions, you know, being labeled as gambling. Yeah. Being, you know, and you see it in a lot of games where these microtransactions take advantage of, you know, it sounds weird, but it takes
the children.
Yeah, it sounds weird, but
maybe just rephrase it a little bit,
bro. It's like, oh, get your mom's credit card. Like, it's basically saying that. Yeah, the parents don't know what they're spending money on. You know. Yeah, and I guess what I'm trying to say here is there's going to be a point where it's going to need to be regulated. Yeah, in order for these things not to happen. Right. Like, up until what point are you going to, you know, take advantage of this situation? But then again, you know, we have free will. We can spend our money whatever we want. If we want to spend our money on the skin, then we spend our money on the skin. Yeah. So it's like a really touchy subject. It is dumb as hell.
I'm kidding. If you want to buy it, that's
but
your,
the thing is,
prerogative.
they see how much money they can get out of microtransactions. They put priority on these microtransactions over the actual gameplay. But they can't be mad when we don't buy a game on day one, when we when they're getting a reputation of unfinished games being released.
Yeah. Well, the Days Gone game.
Yeah.
You know, they blamed it on the media and the portrayal of people talking about it.
Wow. What do you think about that?
I think that's just not owning up to your mistake.
What was their mistake?
Their mistake was overpromising and over-delivering, or overpromising, under-delivering. If you can't make something work in a certain amount of time, your time frame that you have, you shouldn't be promising certain things, because then it makes expectations very high.
Was it unfinished when it got released?
It was definitely nowhere near where it was supposed to be.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think when you start saying like, oh, our game is going to have this, and it's going to have this, and it's going to have this, if you can't guarantee that those things are going to happen, you shouldn't be saying them at all, because you're setting out false hope. And if you don't own up to like the bugs and the glitches and unfinished product and storytelling that's in it, that's your fault. You're the ones that are in charge of the development. You're the ones that are in charge of like, hey, this game's not done.
Yeah.
And sometimes sometimes it's not as simple as that. You have the investors are breathing down your neck. They're not paying you anymore. They're like, you need to get the game out.
Yeah.
And then you can get your money. But I think that's where indie developers shine so much, is because they're able to take their time on something.
Yes.
And they're not being, I mean, they're probably investors there, but like they're not being confined to like those restrictions
and the pressure.
Yeah. I think that making that comment about like, it's not our fault that our game is shitty, it's the media's fault that the game is shitty. No, it's your fault. You were the one coding it. You're the one developing it. It is your fault.
Yeah.
There's other contributors to that. Yeah. But like, you have control on whether like you can, if you need to cut stuff from the game, you cut it.
True.
And like make it as good as you possibly can make it before it gets out, because I can guarantee you like the game had to be shut down. So like that's and ran, but
and the game has a huge following too.
Still,
I'm not. I'll take it back. I don't know if it's huge, but it has a consistent following, just like Horizon has.
Yeah,
just like, you know, it might not be as big, but like it has like people go crazy for this game.
Yeah.
We're talking about Days Gone, right?
The Days Gone, or
the day before.
The day before, not Days Gone.
Oh shit! Yeah, I'm here thinking.
I was like, wait a minute. Like, there's no way this game could have games. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no, and like we talked about this before. You told me this, and I didn't know about this until you told me about it.
What's that?
But Power Worlds, right?
Yeah.
There was a 20-year-old kid who worked at a convenience store who literally coded the animation for the guns.
Oh yeah. And he learned everything off of YouTube.
Yeah. Like, you're telling me that a company of 50 people,
yes, and
a 20-year-old who barely knew how to code anything for a game. I mean, I don't know his level of coding, but like clearly if he coded that, he was good. But you're telling me 50 employees,
yep,
and a kid who's never been, and I say kid when he's like almost my age,
right?
But like somebody who is
new to the industry.
They were able to make a game and make millions
the biggest
of dollars.
Game of today,
biggest game of the year.
It has to be,
and it's still in early access.
Yeah,
you know what that means?
What's that?
That means there's no excuse for any AAA, for any indie, for any AA, or any game developer to make a shitty game.
You know, I'm glad when I see things like this, because it sets the bar.
Yes.
You said this before, like that's gonna set the bar for other studios.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It needs to.
Yeah. And they see how much people are geared towards it, and it's like, yo, all you have to do is make a good game. That's all you have to do, bro.
It's easier said than done.
Yeah, right.
But like why? Like, how is it that like the game is fun? The story, there's basically no story in it. But like, if 50 people can do it, come on. Like, I'm not a game developer. I'm not a story writer. I'm not a code. Like, I do code websites, but I don't code that. You can make, if 50 people can make a good game that people want to play, that's fun.
Yeah.
You can do that with a AAA game where you're getting millions of dollars or thousands of dollars to do it.
Get all the resources.
Yeah. Speaking of which, and this is like, we kind of already touched base on this, so this will be a pretty quick point. Do you think the prices of games will change in the future? And if so, what's your prediction in like the next 10 years?
I would say this is just speculation. I feel like GTA 6.
No, this is fact.
I feel like GTA 6 will set a new bar when it comes to
For price?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't know, but I see a lot of people talking about it, and you know, it kind of makes sense because it looks like it's going to be a big game.
Yeah.
So, and on one side, I see the good of it because you want other games to be good.
Yeah.
Not just GTA, but you want other games as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna set the bar up. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
That's the good side. Now, the side that I'm worried about, okay, I would pay more for a game of that caliber.
Mm-hmm.
But now other companies are going to see that. This is my fear, that other companies are going to see that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they're going to raise the price up because, one game did it. I'm going to do it too, but it's not going to be up to caliber.
Right.
And we're back in the loophole again.
Right. I do kind of see, I think you said this to me, but I see Rockstar as like Apple.
Yeah.
Of the gaming community, gaming sphere.
The biggest.
Because Rockstar, they're huge.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, you know, they don't wait for investors. They don't wait for publishers. They do everything themselves.
Yeah.
And like they release it when the game is ready and when they want, minus leaks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's just to say the comparison with Apple, like Apple charges more for their products, even though some of their products are very similar to other products. They charge more for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like way high. But the thing is, people still buy it because it's a good product.
Right.
Same thing with Rockstar. Rockstar is in that kind of category where they can sell a product or sell a game, charge more for it, and people will still buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because of credibility alone. People know if Rockstar is making a game, it's good. What's
that reputation?
Exactly. Name a Rockstar game that failed.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
No, all right. That game did not fail.
To be honest, I
was
think
amazing.
If not my first favorite game, my top one, probably second.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. I think it's my favorite game of all time.
There hasn't been a single Rockstar game that's missed. I don't want to jinx it. I'm gonna knock on wood.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to jinx it. But tell us, what do you guys think? Do you think that prices are for games are valued at the correct price? Do you think that they should be less? Do you think that they should be more? Mm-hmm. And in the future, where do you see the prices going for games? Let us know in the comments. Let us know everywhere you listen to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining us on the latest episode of the LeisureHub Podcast. Again, I have been your host, Justin, alongside me, my co-host,
Pedro. Thank you very much for listening in and tuning in. You guys been really consistent, and just want to say that we feel really thankful for that.
Yeah, Pedro's playing with his feet as he's telling you that, so just keep that in mind.
With my sock.
with the hole in the sock.
Yeah.
A giant hole. Bro, I can buy you some new socks.
These are new socks.
Yes, they are. No, they're not.
Yes, they are. I bought them at Goodwill.
Thank you so much. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
See ya.
How?
Damn. You don't fail.